Welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. I am Coach Julia, and today we are going to be doing a Q&A video. It's been several months since I did one of these, and so I thought it would be fun to go onto my comments and answer some of those in video format. Now, I've noticed there were quite a few that had to do with jumping and rotating, and so we are going to get started on a chunk of those first. I've got my laptop with me here, and so let's just go through some of those questions. Now, keep in mind as I answer these questions, these are my opinions or the way I teach my students. So your coach might have a different answer if you're working with a coach. You always want to go with what your coach is going to give you as guidance rather than someone on the internet. The first one is from Anzelika Bartala. I think I got that right, but I hope I did. All right, so their question was, in which sequence to learn jumps? So I have quite a few jump tutorials on my channel, and I have a whole playlist just for jumping. Okay, and so you want to start with the jumps that don't rotate, like tap toe and bunny hop. And then you go on to half rotation jumps. And these are going to be half flip, half lutz, ballet jump. The waltz jump would be a half rotation jump. So you want to learn all of those half rotating jumps. And then you'll move on to the jumps that land backwards or the full rotating jumps, all right? And again, your coach might teach you these in a different order if they notice something about your skating that tells them, oh, they're gonna be good at this one. But generally, I teach the jumps in this order to my students. We start with a waltz jump. Once they can land that backward landing nicely, we move on to the salchow, and then the toe loop, then the flip, then the lutz, then the axel. So waltz jump, salchow, toe loop, loop, flip, lutz, axel. That is the order that I teach my students how to do their jumps in. And all of those should be able to be found in the jumps playlist. Our second question is from Lex 8398, and they say, this isn't about blades, but still a question. I found that I prefer land my waltz jumps on my left foot, hence turning clockwise, but prefer to spin anti-clockwise. Is that okay, or should I train both feet? I'm a beginner and self-taught. Okay, this is an interesting question, and one I do run into from time to time with people who are primarily self-taught. If you've learned from the beginning with a coach, they're going to steer you in the correct direction. But if you're self-taught, people will often jump and spin different ways just because they don't know the difference. Now, this does lead me to another question that I saw that's very similar. This is from Sarah. Let me read this a little closer. Sarah OER 3182. They said, I landed my first waltz jumps today, and now I'm wondering if I should practice on both feet. I always jump from the left and land on the right. It's such a nice feeling to land them as a beginner. This brings me to another question that I pulled that was on the same topic. How do I know which direction to rotate? They seem the same to me in either direction. Should I just keep practicing both directions or pick a direction and practice more going that direction? Same thing, okay? Same answer. This is from Eric XH9EE. Okay, so let's talk about rotating waltz jumps and spins, or any jump and spin. You really do want your jumps and your spins to primarily rotate the same direction as each other. Eventually, you may get extra points in your competitions if you can do your spins going both ways. All right, that's currently an ISU thing, but things change, so we'll see. But right now, if you get up into the higher levels and you do your spin one way and then step out and do it the other way, you can get some extra point value for that. But generally speaking, you want all of your jumps and spins to rotate the same direction. So either go clockwise for everything or counter or anti-clockwise for everything. The reason why is because your body is going to memorize the feeling of pulling in and creating power and rotating. And you want it to simplify things for it. Skating is a very difficult sport, and so you want to make things simple where you possibly can. And so to have everything, the feeling in your body rotating one way, makes it easier when you get to the more difficult jumps or spins. So you do want to try to make them both rotate the same direction. So if you've already learned your jump one way and your spin the other way, say you're working on waltz jumps, and you're doing your waltz jump one way and your spin the other way, you need to figure out which one of those is going to be the more confident one for you. Which one do you feel stronger at? the spin rotating direction or the jump rotating direction, and go with that one direction for both. Now, this isn't the rule, but generally speaking, right-handed people prefer their right side to go forward. So I'm right-handed and I like to go counterclockwise because then my stronger side is going forward. And the same with left-handed people tend to prefer their left side to rotate forward. Okay, this isn't the rule. There are people who go the other way, but generally speaking, if you're right-handed, go right side forward. So that would be counterclockwise. If you're left-handed, go left side forward. So that would be clockwise. Sorry, getting messed up on my words. You don't need to learn the jumps and spins both ways, except for, like, again, in some very small circumstances. So until you're doing like doubles or triples, don't even worry about it. Learn everything the same direction. All right, that is my advice. I give that to skaters every time when I find out that they are doing the jumps one way and the spins the other way. We want to figure out which one is their dominant side and just go that way for everything. I hope that is a helpful answer for you. Now, there were a few questions that I saw that were about 3 turns. This is an ongoing struggle for so many people, and it's such an important skill that we really, really want to spend time mastering this. Now, I have a few different tutorials on forward and backward 3 turns and a whole video on kind of solving some of your 3-turn problems, and I'll post links down below to those in case that those kind of clarify some of these for you. But let's read these questions. So the first one is from Sarah, HOER 3182. Thanks for this. I can do 2-foot turns on both sides and both directions, but I always make a scratch noise and lose momentum when turning. Are there any tips to fix this? Okay, that is a great question. So 2-foot turns and you're making scratching and losing momentum. So as with anything in skating, there's always multiple reasons why this could be happening, but I'm going to give you a couple of them for this skill. So one of them could be you're getting your toe picks in the ice for too long, and so those toe picks are scratching as they're rotating. If you're skating long and you hit that toe pick and really slowly turn, then that toe pick is going to dig into the ice, scratch, and slow you down. As you're learning, you'll need those toe picks less and less and less for your turns. I teach using the toe pick at the very beginning when you're learning a 3-turn because it helps you have a pivot point, but eventually you don't need it all. You just start turning on the rocker. And so if your toe picks are hitting and really digging in, it's going to kill your momentum and it's going to make a big scratching noise. So try using just your rocker and maybe a tiny bit of the drag pick to turn instead of the toe pick. The other reason that it could be happening is that you're skidding your blades as you turn. So this could be that you're not lifting up on your heel enough. If you're turning kind of in the middle of your foot, then your heel is going to scrape around. That's going to really kill your momentum. It's like you're doing a stop and a turn at the same time. So you want to make sure you're lifting that heel up off the ice and making that quick turn so that you have the least amount of blade on the ice as possible. The more blade that is making contact with the ice when you turn, the more of a scraping and slowing down motion you're going to have. So that would be my 2 main reasons why people would scrape and lose momentum on a 1-foot or 2-foot turn. Okay, this next question is from KRob2327. How about when you're doing a routine and don't have the circle to guide you? How can you tell if you've done one of the other things? Okay, so this was again on my 3-turn tutorial video. So when I teach a 3-turn, I teach it on a circle. So usually I will use one of the curling circles at our rink because they're a nice size for doing a 3-turn around. And then you can really clearly see if you're facing into the circle or not. It's very helpful for learning, but when you're in a routine, you are a program, your 3-turn could be happening anywhere on the ice, just depending on how the choreography is working. So how do you know what kind of a 3-turn you're doing? This is a great question. Okay, well, it's all up to where your body is facing and the edge that you're on and the edge that you're exiting on, all right? So if you are doing your routine and you're going, kitty corner across the ice, and your body is, so let's say that this is the rink. Okay, so we have our ice rink here, and your body is facing towards that corner, okay? It's facing down, and you're gliding this way. if you are facing this way and your toe goes this way and you're rotating this way, then it's going to be a 3-turn. The question is, are you on your outside edge when you go in, or are you on your inside edge? Okay, so we go 3-turn here. There's no circle. We aren't working with a circle, we're on a square. But if your face is looking at this corner, your toe pick looks at this corner, and you're going in leaning towards your big toe, then you're doing an inside 3-turn. If you go in leaning on your little toe, then you're doing an outside 3-turn, okay? Now that's simplifying it quite a bit. There's brackets, there's counters, there's rockers, there's all these different kinds of moves. But if we're talking about 3-turns specifically, body facing this way, curving that way, toes going that way, are you on your outside edge or your inside edge? You just kind of got to figure out ahead of time when you're doing your routine what way you're facing and what edge you're on, and that's going to tell you what kind of 3-turn you're doing. All right, so if you're doing a program and you're having a hard time knowing what turns you're doing or what turns you're supposed to be doing, definitely connect with the person who's choreographed it, whether it's your choreographer or your coach, and help them have them clarify for you exactly what the requirements are for this turn and what edge you're supposed to be on when you start, what edge you're supposed to be on when you finish, what way you're supposed to be facing, and have them give you the exact name for it. It's right forward, outside 3, left forward, inside 3, whatever it is, so that you can be more clear in your mind about what the skill is you're doing. I do see this in programs a lot where I will give footwork to a student, but they're not clear on what they're doing. They don't really understand. Maybe they don't have a good connection between the name of a move and what it feels like, or maybe they're not super paying attention when I teach it, and so they're just trying to blast through. And I'll see turns that are like on flats, or they're just sort of moving their body around. And you're like, what are you doing? Let's stop, let's slow down, let's clarify. You're going in on this edge, you're facing this direction, you're curving this direction. This is a 3-turn, this is not a bracket. So if you're really having a hard time, get with your choreographer or coach and have them clarify that turn for you so you can make it clean, you can execute it well, and you can get the points for that maneuver. All right, here was another great question I saw. This is from Saturday Pizza. That sounds so good. Now I want pizza. All right, it says, hi, how to understand when it's time to upgrade to stiffer boots. I am now beginning to practice single jumps. Okay, so this is a great question. I often see people who have not been in private lessons and are just in group classes or public session skaters stay in beginner boots for way too long, and then they end up struggling with not having the correct support for their skates, for their feet. So let's talk about this. When do you need to upgrade? When you purchase a pair of skates, there should be certain sort of qualifications listed on there, like these are good for half rotation jumps, these are good for single rotation jumps, these are good for double rotation jumps. So you can go on your boot manufacturer's website, look up your model, and it'll tell you kind of a good idea of where that boot is qualified for based on its stiffness. Okay, so you definitely have beginner boots that are only designed for forward stroking and little tap toe jumps and things like that. And if you do full rotation jumps, they're going to break down so quickly, and then you're not going to get the support for your feet. Okay, so that would be the easiest thing. Go on your boot manufacturer's website and see if you can find out what the standards are for your boot. But if you don't have a model number or something like that, then you want to just sort of try to get in tune with your boots and what they're doing for you. A good boot should hold your foot up, okay? You should not have to fight with your boots. Your boot should give you support when you land. So if you land a jump and your ankle's going, either you're not tying it very tight, or your boot's really broken down and you need to replace it, or it's just not made for that kind of a maneuver. So if you land a jump and you roll through that toe and you're checking out and your boot feels like it is not giving any support, that's a clear indicator that you need to upgrade to a stiffer boot. I had a student recently who upgraded her boots, practiced 4 days a week for an hour or two every day, and really was working really hard. And within 6 months, she'd broken down her boots, and her grandmother who bought them were like, we just bought these. Okay, yeah, but your student, your skater works so hard. She's jumping a lot. This means with breaking them down this quickly, we need to upgrade the stiffness so that they last a little longer for her. So that's another indicator. If your boots are feeling soft quickly after you wear them, so you wear them for a couple months and they don't feel like they're supporting your feet anymore, don't just replace your boots with the same kind, replace them with something that's more supportive. Get an upgrade in your boot stiffness. I hope that that answer was helpful. Okay, that is all I have time for today. I've got to zip over to the rink. I've got hours of lessons ahead of me. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please do give us that thumbs up. And as always, I'm looking forward to reading all those comments in that section down below. If you haven't done so yet, then hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell so you can see all my videos when they come out. Happy skating, and I'll see you next time.